started? Thank you all for joining us for the first webinar in our cannabis education series. I'm your presenter, Jerry Schultz. Can you guys hear me okay? Do you know where your chat box is? Let me know. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Let's get going then. I'm excited about this. This is going to be short and sweet. And I want to make sure I have time at the end for questions because I'm not going into minute detail about things. This is a general beginner's guide, but I'm happy to answer all your questions. So let's start a little bit about me, just so you know who's talking. I thought I knew about weed. After all, I was a child of the 60s. I was around the culture for decades. But it wasn't until I started to study CBD for my own ailments, after prescription medications had done their damage, I needed an alternative, that I realized I didn't know much about cannabis. And so my journey began, and the science and the anecdotal evidence was really intriguing, even inspiring. So let's get to the next screen. There we go. I am what we call a seasoned nurse of more than 2 decades. My experience spans ICU, hospice, cardiology, natural medicine, and nursing education. I've worked bedside and in management, and I've always prided myself in being an advocate for patients and for the nurses. I've met some amazing people along the way, and I know I'm not alone in being frustrated with the traditional structure of medicine. Looking for options, as any good nurse would do, I started educating myself. I've amassed multiple certifications, attended countless webinars, conferences, Zoom sessions. I read research daily, and I continue to be amazed at what I learn. I was so excited about what I was learning that I resigned from my traditional, comfortable management position and made cannabis my priority. I started a CBD company because I didn't like the wide variation of quality and information about CBD that was out there. I knew this was a wonderful option for so many because it personally helped me. So I wanted to make sure there was a high quality option for people to trust. Yep. I started Tulip Tree CBD because I wanted to help people. I know it's a little cliche. Then I realized, like me, people needed to know what they didn't know about cannabis. So I started DOSE, Medical Cannabis Nurse Consulting. I had a vision of aging where we aren't dependent on prescription medications with all their side effects, doctor's appointments, lab tests, and expense. I needed to learn how I could use nature to keep me in balance, happy, and healthy. How many of you are looking for the same answers? Put your hands up or put your answer in the chat box. All right, you guys, let's keep going. I feel that a little bit of history helps put things in perspective. How cannabis affects us and interacts with us and our current medications is important. And of course, our body's own system and where cannabis fits in. In the first section, we'll first review a little history, then we'll review some cannabis basics, and finally do a little healthcare professional introduction and how healthcare providers fit into the picture. We see cannabis first used in 2700 BC by the Chinese emperor for pain from gout and arthritis. In medical writings in ancient Egypt, 2300 BC, we see it used for eye conditions, female disorders, and migraine headaches. It's found in Hindu texts as one of the 5 sacred plants. And jump forward, we find in the 1600s, cannabis is used for sleep, dysentery, appetite, headaches, digestive problems in India. And this is where the physician, Dr. William O'Shaughnessy, finds it in 1833. It becomes popular treatment for depression, asthma, migraine, female disorders, nerve pain, and even muscle spasms. Most households in the turn of the century could be found with these tinctures in their medicine cabinet. It was used up until 1911 when Massachusetts passes the law making it illegal to sell or possess cannabis. Many states followed, and then in 1936, Reefer Madness came out to warn parents about its dangers and brainwashed an entire generation with misinformation. We just have to watch just a little bit of this.
These high school boys and girls are having a hop at the local soda fountain. Innocently, they dance. Innocent of a new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell. In this film, you will see the ease with which this vicious plant can be grown in your neighbor's yard, rolled into harmless-looking cigarettes, hidden in an innocent shoe or watch case. In this startling film, you will see dopesters lure children to destruction.
We're going over to Joe's place. Why don't you come along? We have a date to play instead of doubles. Oh, you can play anytime. Come on, we'll have some laughs. Can I go along with you? Sure. Hey, I'll see you at dinner, Sid.
If you want a good smoke, try one of these.
You will meet Bill, who once took pride in his strong will as he takes the first step toward enslavement.
Of course, if you're afraid.
Smoking the soul-destroying reefer, they find a moment's pleasure, but at a terrible price. Debauchery, violence, murder, suicide. And the ultimate end of the marijuana addict. Hopeless insanity. See this important film now, before it is too late.
Okay, I promise not to lead you into hopeless insanity. We'll continue, but I thought that was a fun little film to watch if you haven't seen it before. It goes downhill from there with the Marijuana Tax Act in 1937. In 1941, cannabis is removed from the national formulary. In 1944, New York's Mayor LaGuardia releases a study that reports no proof of major crime associated with cannabis, no association with aggression or antisocial behavior, no evidence of personality change or sexual overstimulation. No one listened. In 1970, President Nixon passed the Controlled Substance Act, making cannabis a Schedule I drug, defined as no medicinal value, high potential for abuse, and high potential for addiction, right alongside LSD and heroin. In 1988, DEA's own judge states, marijuana is one of the safest therapeutically active substances known to man, and recommends changing it to a Schedule II. In 1992, endocannabinoids were discovered in the human brain, and the endocannabinoid system was mapped. In 2018, the Hemp Farming Act removed hemp from Schedule I controlled substances, making it an ordinary agricultural commodity, as it was when this country was first founded. It's taken decades to clear up misinformation we've lived with for so long. Many of you feel you know basics about cannabis. Type your answers in the chat box and let me know how you are feeling about these particular points, just so I know where we can start. All right, you guys, a little interaction. We'll keep going. The federal farm bill making hemp illegal, legal in 50 states, defines cannabis as less than 0.3%. State by state, cannabis is being decriminalized, but federally, it's still illegal if it's over 0.3% THC. This is a picture of my granny. I wanted to share it because it makes me smile. And I'm told I take after her. So now let me introduce Dr. James Weeks. And let's see if I can get James out here. All right, James, go ahead and unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
We got you.
Video coming on. Yeah, I'm Dr.
There you go, James. All set.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Hi, I'm Dr. Weeks, James Weeks. I'm an internal medicine physician in Cincinnati, Ohio. Appreciate Jerry for inviting me today. Just going to briefly talk about the role of the physician in regards to medical cannabis, but as Jerry said, it is an exciting time in Ohio in regards to the fact that we now have legal medicinal marijuana, and our fellow Ohioans can access that for 22 medicinal reasons at this point, which is a nice number. And so, yeah, exciting times. And as Jerry said, definitely helpful for a wide variety of conditions. We've seen people getting off of opioid pain medications, and as well as a variety of other traditional medications. So essentially, the visit itself, when a patient decides to consider medicinal cannabis, to make an appointment with us or another healthcare provider that has the certificate to recommend cannabis in Ohio. And we just like to go over all the goals that the patient has in regards to the benefits they're hoping to obtain. And, you know, there's often a lot of common ones like pain and sleep and mood and appetite. And so it's kind of whittling those down so we can get a better idea about what type of cannabis product might be best for them. And as we do recognize that there is a lot going on with medical marijuana, and it's a lot of complexities, and I think it is helpful to go over products and different dosing and that sort of thing. After the visit, we do a bit of paperwork, and that provides the patient with the medical cannabis card, which is what they take to the dispensary in order to go and purchase the product. And then throughout the year, we're available to them, of course, if they have questions or concerns.
That's great. Thank you, James. I really appreciate your expertise in the contributions to cannabis education. And if you can stick around, if we have some questions at the end that you can field for me, I would appreciate that.
Definitely.
Great. So cannabis effects and interactions are unique to the patient, as Dr. Weeks mentioned, and the circumstances, of course. Factors that come into play when finding the most beneficial cannabis for each individual include age, metabolism, medical background, and benefits desired, even previous cannabis exposure. Let's take a look at two case studies of people who found relief using medical cannabis who were able to reduce or eliminate their opioids. Meet Gretchen. She was suffering from flare-ups of irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Smoking cannabis calmed her painful cramping and relaxed her intestines so she wasn't constantly worried about being near a bathroom. She needed to tailor her route and dose because smoking made her dizzy and a little foggy during the day. Marcos recently diagnosed with AFib, a heart arrhythmia condition that requires him to take blood thinners. Research has shown that CBD interacts with the same liver enzymes as a common blood thinner warfarin, also called Coumadin. While subtle, this interaction requires monitoring and may indicate a lower dose of warfarin to keep blood at therapeutic levels. Ideally, cannabis healthcare professional works together with the patients to find the right combination of route, dose, and form of cannabis to best suit individual needs. When first starting out with medical cannabis, there's a trial and error period while you find how your body responds to the new medicine. Keeping track of your cannabis consumption will save you time in finding what works best for you and money in products that don't address your needs. Marcos found that cannabis sublingually bypassed the issues of cannabis competing in his liver with the blood thinners he was on. Tincture also allowed Marcos to get a more consistent ratio of CBD to THC he needs as well. His healthcare provider monitors his blood to make sure he's in therapeutic range and makes adjustments as necessary. Gretchen was able to vapor cannabis as needed when cramping and intestinal spasms interfered with her day by using a 6-to-1 high CBD to THC vape cartridge. This combination worked well for her to mitigate the side effects of dizziness she felt when taking just THC alone. At night, she was able to use a higher dose THC to help her relax so she could get some rest. Research is showing that smoking cannabis helps reduce cramping and muscle spasms associated with IBS, something Gretchen notes firsthand. In addition to cannabinoids, terpenes play a role in cannabis medicine. These are a few of the more common terpenes found in full and broad spectrum cannabis and cannabis flower. Responsible for infusing it with its fragrant scent, terpenes give each strain of cannabis its distinct smell and may be part of the reason for the strain name. The fragrant oils are secreted from the cannabis plant's resin glands, which also produce THC, CBD, CBC, and the other cannabinoids produced by the plant. Terpenes have therapeutic benefits and add to the overall entourage effect. No, not these guys. The entourage effect is when the combination of all the cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids and minor chemical constituents all work together to produce a benefit greater than the individual parts. There are over 140 known phytocannabinoids. When analyzed in the lab, they show an array of medicinal properties. Endocannabinoid identification led to research into the workings of the endocannabinoid system. Researcher continues to find new and different ways the system affects our health. Phytocannabinoids such as THC and CBD can substitute for an endocannabinoid, helping to balance that neurotransmitter messaging. As an example of the synergistic enhancement, both THC and CBD, when taken separately, have been found to provide pain relief. But studies have shown that CBD enhances pain relief when used together with THC, compared with just THC alone. As an example of opposing effects, CBD may decrease some of the intoxication, memory loss, and increased heart rate THC can induce. Okay, a bit of chemistry. If neurotransmitters become unbalanced in the sending neuron, it creates an imbalance in the receiving neuron. This increases calcium flow into the receiving cell, triggering an endocannabinoid key. The receiving key is sent to the cannabinoid receptor lock in the sending cell. This lock and key response slows the neurotransmitter flowing back and forth, correcting the imbalance. Okay, there'll be a quiz on that later. Phytocannabinoids' chemical structure is similar to the endocannabinoids our body uses and creates itself. It can be used as keys to create a gate for the neurotransmitter flow and thus helping establish that balance and regulation. The medicinal properties of cannabis are undisputed, and research is rapidly catching up to what people have known for thousands of years. So why is our endocannabinoid system so important? Simply put, it's found throughout your entire body and affects all systems. CB1 and CB2 receptors are found throughout your body, with CB1 primarily in your neurologic system and CB2 just about everywhere else. These cannabinoids impact your sleep, appetite, digestion, hunger, mood, motor control, immune function, reproduction and fertility, pleasure, pain, inflammation, memory, temperature regulation, and your neurologic system. When any of these systems become imbalanced for a long period of time, we can develop a depletion of our own ability to bring that system back into balance. We're able to supplement that with phytocannabinoids to help achieve homeostasis. With chronic disease or dysfunction, our bodies struggle to maintain homeostasis or balance. To define an issue as chronic means that an issue's lasted longer than 12 weeks. When our bodies can't keep up or reestablish the homeostasis, we're able to supplement and support its efforts with naturally occurring phytocannabinoids in cannabis. Yay. The testimonials are vast and undeniable. People are finding cannabis to be an excellent option, either in conjunction with their prescription medications or as an alternative without all the side effects, tests, expense, and office visits. You only have to look at the news to see the countless stories about how patients are weaning off opioids, accidental suicides from overdoses are declining, and people are reducing polypharmacy, helping manage their lives in a healthy and productive way by including cannabis medicine into their health routine. That's all I have for you now, and I will open it up for questions. So please type in the chat box what you'd like to ask either Dr. Weeks or myself. Okay, I see. I use it for pain, but I still use sativa as indica can depress me. Normal? Really, you have to, it's all very, very individual. You know, indica does have that more heavy mind effect. So I can see where it would feel a little depressing, and that is very normal. So we would find something for you to address what you're looking to address specifically. Does that answer? Okay. I get frustrated trying different doses and paying so much money for nothing. You know, Lynn, I understand. And that's why going to a cannabis healthcare professional to help you figure that out and really tracking that will help narrow your options and get you to that desired benefit much faster. So finding a physician or talking to a cannabis nurse like myself, if you already have your card, or if you're in a state that has adult use and you don't need a card, I am happy to work with you and we can narrow down that dose so that you're not spending all that extra money on products you don't need anymore. Okay, I have a good friend that was addicted to marijuana and went to rehab to kick the habit. Is it addictive when used recreationally? You know, Maggie, there's really no research out there that shows that marijuana has any chemical constituents that can cause you to be addicted. Addiction personalities sometimes have a habit of searching out things that help them, and that is more of a psychological addiction than an actual physical addiction. See, my surgeon got me hooked on Norco and said I was fine to be addicted at my age. I now use Medmar. Oh, James, do you want to address some of these? I'll let you take that. James, do you want to unmute yourself? Okay.
What was the question again?
The question is, my surgeon got me hooked on Norco and said it was fine to be addicted at my age. I now use Medmar. So
Medmar. I'm not familiar with Medmar.
yeah. What do you tell somebody who says that their surgeon said, go ahead and use Norco and you don't care to be addicted?
I mean, I think just the reality is that opioids are good for acute pain management, but they're not really the best for chronic pain management. If you're, you know, in a terminally ill situation, then of course, I think we're happy to let you use, you know, any sort of symptom management drugs to achieve the goals. But if you're, you know, functioning person, you shouldn't probably want to be on opioids long term. And so that's kind of the goal, is that we want to use something that has a lower side effect profile than opioids for people who, have things that are going on, but it's not end of life or acute.
Yes, and she did clarify MedMar, she meant medical marijuana.
I see. Yeah.
So, which is always a better choice than Norco, always, especially for anything long-term. Short-term, right after surgery, like Dr. Weeks said, fine, great. But, when you start getting into chronic conditions and our system starts wearing down, supplementation with some phytocannabinoids is always a nicer option all around. Ricky said, did you say that cannabis is now being prescribed for 22 different medical issues? In Ohio, yes. In different states, the medical issues or the qualifying conditions is what they're called, vary state to state. So you can look that up according to your state or visit dose.net. And I believe I have some links on there that might be able to help you, but it is state specific on the qualifying conditions. Any other questions? All right, well, I really appreciate Dr. Weeks joining us and lending his medical expertise to the webinar. We're going to be following up this webinar. This is just kind of an overview. We have a series coming out. The next webinar will be out in a couple weeks, and we'll be talking about cannabis and chronic pain. After that, on the agenda, we have PTSD, IBS, Parkinson's, MS, and Alzheimer's, so the neurological conditions, and the neuropathies. And we also might hit on some sleep issues. So talk to us at dose.net. You can always give me a call or shoot me an email. Here is, let me see. Next slide. There we go. We're going to be looking for your feedback on this webinar. So there's my email address, my two websites, dose.net and tuliptreecbd.com. Both you can reach me and ask questions, and let's keep this conversation going. You all have a good evening. Thank you.